Welcome, Wanderer. Diablo 4 devs just dropped huge news regarding Season 10. In Helltides, we will have Chaos Rifts. We already knew this. What's new is, these Chaos Rifts range from a rarity of rare all the way to mythical. Yes, you heard right. You can walk into a Helltide, try to close one of those Chaos Rifts, and it will show as a mythical Chaos Rift, dropping 100% a mythic. But that's not the only interesting thing about these Chaotic Rifts, because if they can go all the way up to mythic, that means the Chaotic Rifts can also drop unique items. There can be a unique Chaotic Rift, and that most likely will drop you Chaotic Armors. And that's pretty important because right now our source for Chaotic Armor is either going into the Infernal Hordes, getting yourself 666 Ether at least, so you can then challenge Bartok and send him back to the lobby. And obviously you don't want to kill Torment 1 Bartok, you want to kill Torment 4 Bartok for the most loot and probably for the most amount of Chaotic Uniques. Therefore, being able to get them from Helltides easier without having to kill a Bartok or being Torment 4 ready already, while also having the chance for Mythicals, sounds pretty good. And these Chaotic Rifts are not only coming to Helltides, they are also able to land in Nightmare Dungeons. And the Nightmare Dungeon will then say, instead of Horadric Gold Reserve or Horadric Vial Reserve, Chaotic Rifts in this Nightmare Dungeon. And that's not the only thing, because Nightmare Dungeons can appear as Whispers. And these Whispers will give you more Tree of Whisper loot. And Tree of Whisper loot can also be Chaotic Uniques. And usually I had to check which Nightmare Dungeons I had, Sunken Library, Carrion Fields, then go on the map and figure out if one of them is a Whisper, or if I have the respective Whisper as a sigil. Not anymore. It will now finally say on the sigil if it is a Whisper Nightmare Dungeon or not. And on top, there could be the Rifts in there. And if all of these methods failed to give you Chaotic Uniques, Bartok, the Rifts, Tree of Whispers, you can still take all your obols and then, for example, gamble for boots, gloves, chest, helmet, pants, and they can be Chaotic Uniques there as well. Problem might be getting exactly the one you want, because there are 13 different Chaotic Uniques per class. However, it is at least a chance, especially when you're trying to get a specific pants. If I want to have the Banished Lord's Talisman as a piece of pants, then I'll always gamble pants. They only cost 25 obols. I can fill the inventory up 2-3 times, and there should be one at least there. What does this mean now for our playstyle? What changes on how we engage with the game? Obviously, as soon as you're in the Torment tiers and a Helltide pops up, no matter what you're doing, you gotta go there. You gotta ride through both Helltides to potentially see on your map the symbol for the Chaos Rift. I would not want for the world to miss out on something that could give you such significant loot, especially since they're also dropping the Chaotic Warp, which will be needed to upgrade your powers anyways. Ergo, Helltide comes, 5 minutes, quick riding through, or as a Sorc teleporting through as fast as possible. Nightmare Dungeon wise, you probably want to wait for Torment 3 or 4 before you start big time engaging with them to get more obols, because in Torment 1 and 2, you're barely dropping any obols, and we're actually doing quite some Infernal Hordes to get Bartok, and then we'll get some obols. You will already have some upgrade materials for the first 4 Masterworks. But in order to get it all the way to 12, Tier 4 Nightmare Dungeons are quite useful. They drop quite a lot of obols. And then you want to kill everything anyways in the Nightmare Dungeon. And if it has a Chaotic Rift affix, that makes it even juicier. Lastly, Infernal Hordes will obviously be amazing for obols, for gears, for Chaotic Uniques, for everything, for XP. Keep in mind here that you don't always have to do a 10-wave horde. In a 8 or 6-wave horde, you could also get 666 Ether together for Bartok. You just gotta make sure that your build clears enough. I gotta say, for Necromancer with minions, for example, I might be forced to go for a 10 Horde Compass to get them together. But as my Druid or Sorc, deleting whole screens extremely easy. Getting 666 Ether on a 6er Horde or an 8er Horde is vastly easier. Important advice, don't try to get Chaotic Armor on your boots. That is going to take away the attacks reduce evade cooldown by 1.5 seconds. That's going to take away any kind of movement speed tempers on your boots, and on top of the movement speed rolls that you can have on them. You might be moving just extra sluggish if you then obol gamble for boots to give you something, or if you desperately want to have a Banished Lord's Talisman on your boots. Better plan to have an aspect there and play normal boots. I mean, Sorc, for example, desperately wants to have attacks reduce evade cooldown, so you can go zip, zip, teleport, shoot, shoot, teleport, shoot, shoot, teleport, right? My Necromancer wants to have the triple dash, or if he feels just super slow. keep that in mind. But wait, there's more, because they reworked and buffed quite some of the legendary nodes on every single class. And this brings a new way on how to path through your Paragon boards. And I want to give you some examples here. Let's refund all. And pretend you just reached Torment 1. What is going to be your goal? Your goal is to go with as minimal points as possible through the boards, to then be able to unlock, in my case, minions, the cult leaderboard. And instead of turning this to the path that I would take if I have 200 points, I'm going to turn this in a way that I can instantly unlock the cult leader node and not go for anything here in that regard, right? I will just leave the board right away again and then go for a hulking monstrosity and turn it in a way that I can, on top, just reach the big bad multiplier. This will bring a slight problem of ignoring resistance to all elements, some armors, and so on. But with minimal points put in, 52, I'm already getting a 200% damage bonus, and I'm getting another 100% damage bonus on my golem. And then I can go out on the tippity top already to activate my next legendary node. In this case, it would probably be Frailty or Send of Death. And that one I can reach super simple while still getting some damage reduction. Get the drift though, this is 75 points spent. Obviously, as I then have 120, 150 points, I will reset the whole thing and make sure to activate my glyphs. But in order to activate glyphs properly, you want them at least to be at level 15 for the slight larger radius, that it's then easier to actually unlock them, and you don't have to like kind of scramble and go for weird ways. Now a final word on chaotic uniques. They're not needed to make builds work, but they're going to make them vastly stronger. For example, the Rotten Lightbringer on Druid gives me 600% bonus damage. If I now get it in any slot, okay, I'm saying any slot, it might be a helmet, chest, glove, pants, boots, no matter what it's going to be. The aspect is boosted by another 20% and maxed. Instead of getting 600%, we're looking at 720%. Plus, I can put on the two-handed weapon to give it then an aspect that gets boosted by a 100% on the tippity top. You will obviously find in every planner the optimal slot. For the Rotten Lightbringer, it would be your pants, and then I have a Godslayer crown as my gloves. However, if I get a Rotten Lightbringer as a chaotic uniques, and no matter which slot it is, I'm going to take it. And I'm going to merge and mold the build around it, unless I maybe get the right one in my pants. Or for the sword, if I get an Ophidian Iris as a chest piece, then I'm just going to kick out the Raiment of the Infinite, because the boost from Ophidian Iris is so much more important. It's then going to be 120% and 100% for every Hydra hat. That's a lot. Get the chaotic unique you want, and then adapt the build around it. Even if it's not the optimal slot, you can do it. And if you're now looking for absolute incredible level classes and follow-ups for that, these two videos get you perfectly started into Season 10. No worries, we'll have a full level build to come in. Take care and have a wonderful day.